All right, let's go to the box. LSU, kind of a record-setting performance. Not kind of a record-setting performance. It was a record-setting performance. The most runs ever scored on an opening weekend by an LSU baseball squad, breaking the 96 teams record against Western Kentucky. 13-1 was the final on Friday night, 17-8 the final on Saturday, and then Sunday's finale really got away from Maine, 21-6. It was a barrage of offense. Mr. Hill, what stood out to you?
Yeah, the preseason hype was real, man. You talked about the team going into the season. No one really had real concerns about the offense and what this batting lineup had to offer, especially the first five guys. And I think for me, seeing what you saw from Joe Bear, I didn't know that he would be that that guy in the five hole that could really do the damage that he did over the weekend. But if you can continue to get something from him, those first four guys from Morgan to Cruz to Barry and Doty, they're going to be dominant all season. Now just getting the back end, love what I saw from Merrifield. This lineup is scary, man. And what I really saw when runners did get on base, those guys weren't striking out. They're keeping the ball in play, whether it's sac flies, getting timely hits. That's what you need to score the amount of runs and scoring 51 ones in a weekend. I don't care who it's against. That's impressive.
It is. Look, Maine's not any good. I didn't see a fastball hit 90 miles an hour. I wasn't watching every single pitch on the gun, but it didn't appear that they brought in anybody that had any significant stuff. But LSU still 45 hits on the weekend, 19 walks. They were hit by pitch 13 times. They were on base 77 times in 3 games. That averages out to 26 per game. And you're only playing 8 innings because you're not hitting in the ninth. It was really, really impressive. I thought the most impressive stretch, they scored in 12 straight innings between Friday and Saturday. That tells me it's not just 2 or 3 guys doing damage when they come up. The entirety of the lineup was having productive at-bats, and that's what this lineup strives to be. You know that they've got the top. They've got the All-Americans at the top. Cruz will be an All-American. Barry will be an All-American. Morgan's probably an All-American. Doty may be an All-American. What you got the rest of the way? And those guys really stood up and swung the bat. They scored in 17 of the 24 innings this weekend, which was really good. They had 21 extra base hits and struck out 21 times. So when you're getting extra base hits as many times as you're striking out, that's a very, very good sign. Individually, I think there's a lot of guys you could point to. What was really disappointing, obviously, was the injury to Cade Beloso. He's on crutches, and Jay Johnson says he'll be out for a while. Just a freak thing. Hurt himself in the pregame huddle. They get around first base, and do the little rah-rah thing, and he jumped up in the air and obviously came down and tweaked his knee somehow, some way. So he'll be out for a little bit. But as you mentioned, Joe Bear stepped in. He got 6 hits and 9 at-bats. Also walked 3 times, was hit by a pitch. I thought he hit the ball very, very hard, was great. Doty was awesome, start to finish, 3 doubles and 2 homers for him. He's going to have a monster season. And then I think one of the guys that impressed me in the game that he started on Sunday was Giovanni DiGiacomo hitting a home run to the opposite field. You're going to have to seize your opportunity when you get one. Obviously, Braden Joubert got one because of the injury to Peloso. He was great. You give Giovanni DiGiacomo a little spot start, sit Dugas for a game, and he does a good job of swinging the bats, because if you don't swing the bat when you get a chance, they're going to move on to somebody else because they got enough options. It creates a lot of competition, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does. And we talked about it going into this season, just the amount of depth you have and just, how Jay Johnson can mix and match this lineup and put certain guys in the DH, put certain guys in the outfield. We know what those first 4 guys are going to be, but kind of just getting the bottom of this lineup solidified. I think Gavin Dugas, he came in and played well, but then, like you said, DiGiacomo, he really batted well. He batted 500. For the weekend, and that's just what you need from these guys. I know it's against Maine. I know you're not going to see any first-round draft picks or anything from this Maine pitching lineup, but to me, it just all starts with getting the confidence early, and I think that's exactly what this team has going into this season. They feel like, we're going to be stepping in that batting box, and we're going to go to work, and that's exactly what they did. So we're still some guys that I think, Coach Johnson's going to give some more opportunities to, especially early on in the season, to kind of solidify this thing out. So when you do hit this SEC stretch, you know who your exact starters are, and everyone kind of knows their role. But these are great problems to have, especially right now in the season.
We questioned how he was going to line this thing up, and that's not the biggest deal in the world. They're all going to be in there. Which way you move them around is kind of a luxury that you've got. But I love that he did hit Morgan in the leadoff spot. We kind of thought that. I thought he might hit Doty in the leadoff spot just because of how well Cade had been swinging it. But I love Morgan in the leadoff spot. He takes pitches, and he puts the ball in play and gets on base, and he can steal bases. He gets 3 hits and scores 2 runs in the first game. Then you go Barry. Then you go Cruz. then you go Doty, and that's kind of the way that he lined it up. So you got Morgan, the lefty, at the top. Then you got a switch hitter in Barry, who is going to do, I think, a little bit more damage from the left side. Then you go to Cruz, who's from the right side. Then back to Doty, who's from the right side as well. And then you move Gavin Dugas down in the lineup. We saw Gavin hit 8th in the first game. Let's see as we pull the box scores up. They're so hard to read because there's so many people in them because they cleared the benches in all these games. But you hit him down towards the end of the lineup. It just gives your lineup so much more depth. And when you've got to worry about a guy who has the potential to hit 20 home runs down at the bottom of your order, it makes pitching in every single inning difficult. I mean, we talked about them scoring in as many scored in 12 straight innings. That is part of it when you've got guys that can really swing it down at the bottom of the order.
Yeah, we talked about that, especially trying to figure out the catching position. I know that's probably the worst position as far as offensive production that you got from last season. But I think you're starting to see Merrifield, who started at the bottom of the lineup. He's giving you some production. You saw him lay some bunts down, move some runners, and he started getting the bat going himself. So this lineup is just it's going to be – I'm interested to see just how some of these pitching staff try to get through this lineup over the weekend because they just come at you in waves and waves and waves. And once runners get on base, guys, they're sacrificing at the plate, and the guys are hitting the ball hard. And that's what you saw all weekend from this team. And I know we're going to keep saying this. It's against Maine's pitching staff. It felt like Sunday it was just bad. They scored 11 runs, and they just still had the same pitcher on the mound. It's like, what do you got to do? But, hey.
Take one for the team, buddy. We don't have a lot of guys left. It's just the way it goes. And it's, I'm a little bit disappointed for a couple of reasons at the non-conference schedule. When you're talking about a Maine team that really isn't very good and had not practiced outside yet, bringing them in, they're totally overmatched. You're bringing in, you're playing 5 games against the SWAC on the weekend with Bethune-Cookman, and then you've got this weekend with Towson and Southern. That's not going to challenge you at all. We really won't learn very much about this team until they go to Houston in 2 weeks, and you see Oklahoma and you see Texas, the number 1 team in the country. That's when we'll learn a little bit more, and you can't take everything. But I guess the point is, in this game, if you can't hit, it's a real problem. But when you do and you dominate the way that you should, that's certainly a step in the right direction. I thought just from start to finish, after the first 3 innings, they kind of got those opening night jitters out. They were just impressive, just all the way through the lineup. And I really do believe, as I sit here, that this is a championship-level lineup. I don't know what the pitching staff's going to look like. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. But it's a championship-level lineup, and they didn't do anything over the weekend to kind of take away from that. And I think just to get off to a good start, it breeds a little bit of confidence and maybe puts a little bit of fear in opposing pitchers when you start to look at the numbers these guys are rolling up. You try to be too perfect. You all of a sudden start walking guys, putting guys on base, and when you do that, that's when these bats can really start scaring you.
Yeah, it is. And I think we've seen this LSU program schedule Southern early on in the season and lose a couple games in that stretch. So you can't, poo-poo win. I always say that. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. You want to play extremely well. And when you get guys batting well, especially at the top of the order like you have, it just creates that monster builds and it builds and it builds. And these guys have that confidence that carries on throughout the season. We've seen guys going hitting slumps before. This is the exact opposite of that. So this is the exact thing you want to keep carrying on from week to week. And I think this team is hyper confident. You saw them go out there and never let up. They want to score 30 on them, feels like. And that's the type of mentality you got to have going into a baseball season.
So good start for the Tigers. They are 3-0 after a sweep of the Maine Black Bears.
Thanks so much for watching Hunt Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. See you next time.